Hey everybody, this is Jake with TrendSpider. Decided to make a video today before the Super Bowl based on your guys' feedback and really appreciate that. So hopefully this video helps you guys, one, get an idea of kind of what the broad markets are looking like into tomorrow as well as Bitcoin, and two, really highlight some of the features that I use on TrendSpider on a day-to-day basis. These are mostly features that are only available on TrendSpider. And there are some that are available on other platforms, but the way that you can use them are very different. So SPY, we're going to start off with the daily versus the monthly. And what we can see here on the daily is, quite the big move down. This was how we closed on January 24th. We had the anchored VWAP down here, as well as the anchored volume profile from this October 3rd low. A lot of people ask me, where do you anchor the VWAP from, or the anchored volume by price? So Brian Shannon, who created the anchored VWAP, he's the founder of Alpha Trends. I was taught to anchor from areas that kind of create a new status quo, whether that's a capitulation event, whether that's an earnings gap, whether that's a sentiment reversal change. Anything that really changes the status quo is going to cause me to really anchor it from that point. So notice here, we had a big move down, had this big wick. So to me, that tells me anybody that was a buyer anywhere in this area either capitulated out or added, and then that's when we had our big move up. So that's why I have anchored it from this October 3rd point. And you can see here how the price action actually did break down through the anchored VWAP, but you can still see how much of that volume is still holding at this area, which really creates a base for price. Now, if we started to break down through this, let's say 319 area, there's not a ton of volume holding below that would act as support until we got to these volume bars around 314. So that's something to keep in mind on the daily chart. When we move over to the monthly chart, you'll see something very interesting as well. One, just notice how perfect this touched the 4.618 Fibonacci extension here from this capitulation moment in May to August of 2015. For those that were in the market at this point, this was a huge kind of time in the markets where there's a lot of uncertainty. This was when oil was crashing. So this is where I decided to start the Fibonacci level, something that I learned from one of our partners, Tarek Saab, who really focuses on Fibonacci levels almost fully. So it was very interesting to see that we did touch this 4.618 area. And then notice the Williams percent range. I made this 3 because there's 3 months in a quarter. And so I'm just kind of looking at this as a quarterly RSI or a percent range. And you can see how the divergence is playing out here. First, we had our top out on in April of 2019. We continued up, but we actually found a lower low here in November, and then we've gone down since then. So that's something to really keep in mind. Let's say that we really did start to break down. I'm going to anchor another VWAP right from this area here, and you'll see how perfectly this kind of lines up with that volume block below that I was mentioning. So what I can do is I can go in, create an alert. Let's say anytime the price action touches anywhere, within this purple area, I'll be alerted. So that means anytime the 10-minute candle gets anywhere within this purple area, I'll be alerted. Oops, sorry, my phone just went off there. So now when 10 days have passed, this is either going to expire or it's actually going to trigger if the price does get that low. So now the alert's created and I can move on to the next chart. Got all types of stuff going on here. Sorry about that. So the next chart that we're going to do, and this is a case study actually on this anchored volume profile. Excuse me. This is SQ. And what you can see here is you can see as I move the volume profile over, this vertical line is my starting point. So notice that I'll generally kind of start the volume profile from where we found support on a previous area of support below. And so in this case, you can see how much of that volume was aggregating right around $69. And then from there, you can see that the supply really dried up. And anytime the supply dries up and demand starts to outpace supply, you've got your move up. And it's very interesting that we did move up right to test this area of resistance. And then you can see though, there is quite a bit of volume actually aggregating in this area here. So any sellers that are coming in, there are buyers here kind of absorbing that supply that's being put on the market. So that's something that I just wanted to show, how you can really use these in your kind of style, right? Some people may want to anchor it all the way from down here. And you'll see here, same type of thing. You can see a lot of that volume was aggregating here. So it's not shocking to me that the price found a bid here before moving up. Notice volume kind of created the next base here, kind of like a stair for the stair step. And then we had our next move up. So that's really how you can utilize the volume profile. Going to Bitcoin. This is a really cool example of this right now, kind of happening in real time. So generally when you're using the volume profile, some people are going to call it the VPVR, your volume becomes a function of scrolling the chart. So you'll see as you scroll the chart, this volume is going to change. With TrendSpider, you're actually going to move that to where you want the volume to be shown. Same thing. We had a big capitulation event on December 17th. That was our bottom point here. And then you can see the volume starting to aggregate at these price levels. And you can see essentially that the price is kind of stair-stepping up these levels. So rather than having the volume at the bottom, which is a function of time, we're looking at volume as a function of price since December 17th. Let's say that we want to extend this and we want to see what the volume profile or the volume by price looks like since we really topped out on June 25th. You'll be able to see something very interesting as well. You'll see how much of that volume is holding at this 10,300 level from this particular point in time. So what you can see here is volume is really acting as a magnet for price to kind of gravitate up here. So this just tells us there's a lot of people still holding their bags essentially at 10,300. And so as they continue to hold, supply dries up and the price starts to act as kind of a gravitation towards this price level. Notice as well, this was the same exact area that the price was rejected very hard here back in October. There was a ton of volume here. A lot of this volume probably occurred at this point, but still it's interesting to note that there was a big rejection here right at this level as well. So that is how you can utilize this anchored volume by price on TrendSpider. There is not another platform out there where you can easily just visually move this. This is easily, I would say, one of the most powerful features on the platform, especially when you're going to utilize it with different features such as raindrops or anchored volume volume weighted average price. And so that's how I really use it. So let's all do a case study together right now. Let's just take a look at all of this volume starting to aggregate here. Will supply dry up and price moves up to 10,300? We'll have to see, but this is a case study kind of explaining the reasoning for that. Thank you so much for listening in. Hope this helped, and we'll try to do more videos like this soon. Please make sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions about the TrendSpider charting platform, please feel free to reach out. Thanks so much for listening in today, and happy Super Bowl Sunday.